in celebration of his birthday, which is on December 4th, by his wife, Carolyn. And today's bulletin is sponsored in loving honor of their son, Jason Allen, in celebration of his birthday, which he celebrated on November 28th by Steve and Sharon Allen. There will not be junior church today. Cindy is in the nursery, so there is no junior church today. Tonight, you're probably thinking, what am I doing tonight? I've got the perfect idea. Tonight is the Advent musical, which is over in the education building in the fellowship hall. On a scale of greatness from 1 to 10, this is a 17. It's really that good. And I was sitting in my office listening to angels singing and laughing yesterday. It was great. So 5 o'clock tonight, followed by dinner at 5:50. You're invited to bring a dish to share. But tonight, you don't have to have hamburger helper come to church. There is a wonderful Advent calendar in the bulletin for your edification and things to do during the season of Advent. There's information about the Hope Southern Indiana Angel Tree, about poinsettias, the glove tree, and of course the Advent Christmas musical, as well as the youth group Christmas party on December 16th and the scavenger hunt on December 28th. So all sorts of things happening, so please plan to take part in that. Let us gather and center ourselves and prepare ourselves for worship. I invite you to gently take a deep breath and look up and see above you and imagine above you a starlit night, gazing at the stars above.
Dear people all around the world, let us unite, and we will show how peace can change us, how peace can help us grow.
This year is the 200th anniversary of the debut of Silent Night, Holy Night. This hymn has become the best-loved worship moment of many Christians, even those who only come to church once a year. Something mystical occurs as we light our candles and sing the hope of all is calm, all is bright, peace and light for the world. This worship series will celebrate the carol's message over the entire season of Advent and highlight its call for our lives that can guide us all year long. This week we begin with verse 1. Let's speak it together with hushed voices as if there were a sleeping baby in our midst. Holy night, all is calm, all is bright. Round the young virgin, mother is child, holy infant, so tender mild, sweet and peace, sweet and peace.
One of the most famous stories about this beloved hymn took place in World War I. British and German soldiers were on the front lines called a truce on Christmas Day. So close were the encampments from which they were fighting one another, they could hear each other in the peaceful quiet of the truce, singing Silent Night, each in their own language. This prompted the soldiers to come out and meet on the battlefield without weapons, and they spent the day playing soccer and exchanging small gifts, whatever they had. Humanity is the holy infant for whom God so desires a heavenly peace. Is it possible to bring calm and bright to our own corners of the world?
We enter this season of waiting by lighting this first candle, anticipating the light of the star that shone over Bethlehem for all to see. Advent God, we open ourselves to hear your call today, to become those who not only wait, but also work for peace in our lives, our families, our communities, and our world. Fill us with your peace and light. Make the world so calm and bright.
Let us rise and sing hymn number 119, O Come, O Come. together, being challenged to live in the peace of God which passes all understanding. You're invited to greet those people around you with a sign of God's peace, saying, "The peace of Christ be with you."
It's where you get ready for Christmas. And what happens on Christmas? Yes. Sing. Absolutely. Santa comes, you give presents to people you love, and you go see your family, and some families even have feasts. Yes, ma'am. It's Jesus' birthday too, yeah! So in our church, Advent starts this waiting or preparation period for Jesus' birthday. There were stars in the sky way back then. And so, what I want us to do is look at those stars, maybe walk down the aisle and think about how we, this week, can bring peace to others. Let's take a walk. I don't know about you, but whenever I walk on my land in starry nights, it is pretty peaceful. You know, I mean, looking at the stars kind of helps me remember that God's always with me. And even whenever I want to wish upon a star, can I remember that maybe those stars are God's way of winking at me and saying, I'm still here with you. Sammy, don't go out the door. Come back. I don't think I really thought this through. So, now we're going to walk back, and you guys are going to go sit so many years ago.
This morning's scripture readings come from the book of Isaiah, chapter 2. The word that Isaiah, son of Amoz, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the days to come, the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the highest of mountains, and shall be raised above the hills. All nations shall stream to it. Many people shall come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth instruction, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and shall arbitrate for many peoples. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they war any more."
People who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them the light has shined. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Parent, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish it and uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. This is the word of the Lord.
Let us pray. O come, Emmanuel, and be among us. Today is the first Sunday of the church year, and I bet nobody stayed up to midnight to celebrate last night. It's the first Sunday of Advent, beginning a new year in church, and we're doing a worship theme based on the Christmas carol, Silent Night. Because it was 200 years ago in 1818 in Austria where the hymn was first used for the first time. The melody by the composer Franz Gruber is instantly recognized when we hear it, and the original words by Joseph Mohr have been translated from the original German into over 140 languages. In the year 1914, just 4 years shy of the 100th anniversary of Silent Night, something remarkable happened. World War I was underway. The war had begun in late June of 1914, and to really understand what happened that night and that day, you need to understand a little bit about World War I. World War I was a war that most historians say was the dumbest war ever in the history of humanity. It was a war filled with great heroism by the soldiers, but it was a war that was really not over anything, and it never was fought to accomplish anything. Always seen by the people looking back at it to be a war without a purpose. What happened was Europe was a continent filled with monarchs and oligarchs with an arcane series of alliances. The assassination of a relatively obscure figure an inconsequential nation, combined with this arcane set of alliances, and ultimately led to the brutality of the First World War. By winter of 1914, the soldiers were fighting, but doing it rather half-heartedly. For the average soldier, this was not a war that they really were concerned about. It was never about them. And they held very little animosity towards their enemy. So on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day of 1914, fighting along the Western Front between the British and the German soldiers came to an end, as both sides seemed to stop to celebrate the holiday. They began to sing, and one of the hymns that they sang, the Germans in German and the English in English, was Silent Night. And people have said it was hearing the words of that song coming from the opposing side, different words, but everybody knew what everybody was singing, brought them all out of their trenches. They exchanged gifts, told stories with one another, played soccer, sang Christmas carols together, and the Germans sang Silent Night in German, and the English sang Silent Night in English. Well, the story about what had happened began to really seep out among soldiers, and they began to wonder, why is it that we were fighting? And they began to question why they were fighting. Word got back to the German and English high commands, and they were enraged. And they informed all the officers in the trenches that any kind of friendly event that was going to happen in the future was forbidden. And people who disobeyed this were going to be shot. There was to be no peace. And the war raged on. Our scripture today comes from two different passages from Isaiah. Isaiah is often referred to as the prophet of the Messiah because he uses verbiage so often that seems to refer to the Messiah. Another passage is from Isaiah we read today of someone who is to come. And the prophet speaks of one who is going to bring light that leads to peace. It's important to understand how the words of Isaiah would have been understood in Jesus' day. In Jesus' day, these words would have had a very specific meaning. Isaiah is speaking that a people would one day be led out of oppression. And for the people in Jesus' day, that oppression came from the Roman Empire. And the concept that Isaiah was referring to was the Hebrew word shalom, the peace of God which passes all understanding. In Jesus' day, however, when people spoke of peace, they spoke in the context of something called Pax Romana, which was literally the peace of Rome. And this was a Caesar-created peace, suppressing the human rights and the liberties of people. Rome maintained order and maintained peace through brute force. The Jewish people at that time had a great yearning for freedom and for light. And so hearing the words of Isaiah, the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light, warmed their hearts. A peace. Understanding peace was a hard concept for them. And it's still a hard concept for us now. Could you imagine a presidential election? And someone is running for president and they say, my platform comes from the prophet Isaiah. We shall beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and neither shall they learn war anymore. Most of us would listen to those words and say, you know, we really like the sentiment, but that's not going to work. Peace is hard. And from our vantage point, the one peace we strive for often ends up being the Pax Romana. The peace that comes from being bigger and stronger and tougher than anybody else. And we look at it that if you try to break my peace, I'm going to crush you like a bug. But there are times like 1914 when people see glimmers of the peace of God which passes all understanding. And we see glimmers of light and glimmers of hope. The events of that day were never, ever repeated. And that was the tragedy of the story. We remember so few events of that war, but we remember the moment where there was a glimmer of light amongst the troops. One of the things we always need to remember is when we go to war and conflict, when two people or two groups of people have perfect love, charity, and justice, people never go into conflict with each other. One is always using to attempt to use force upon somebody. One side, when peace is broken, is always guilty, or sometimes everyone is guilty. The ways of God never lead to conflict. The ways of perfect justice and peace and love never lead to conflict. I'd be naive and ignorant of history if I said that all war and conflict was unavoidable. There is evil in the world, and there's always will be and always has been. And there are times when the only way people are able to confront evil is with force. And that's a tragedy that breaks God's heart. But what we are reminded whenever we raise our fists or raise our weapons towards another, even when we deem it necessary, even when it seems to be the right thing to do, it is a time that breaks God's heart. To me, the words of Isaiah ring out about the way of God coming of the Messiah. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Parent, Prince of Peace. His authority will grow continually, and there shall be endless peace. For the throne of David and his kingdom, he will establish and uphold it with justice and with righteousness, from this time onward and forevermore. This is the way of God. Jesus comes as the Prince of Peace, to bring endless peace, a peace that is filled with righteousness and justice. And the only way to achieve it is through God. We cannot do it alone. We often ask the question, why do we need God? Why do we need church? We need church because no matter how flawed church is or can be, it is a place where we do focus on God and our need for God. And we need God because we always live in the tension of wanting peace that comes from force, or peace that passes all understanding. It is a tension that is within us always. Which brings me back to Christmas on the Western Front in World War I. The Western Front saw tragedy over and over again. Heartbreaking tragedy, and many of the stories, and most of the stories, are long lost. The brutality of what took place was undescribable. But a moment, a glimmer of light, a glimmer of peace, a glimmer of love is still remembered from the Western Front. That one story of peace, that one story of hope, that one story revolving around him, hearing the words, sleep in heavenly peace, sung in different languages, but remembered and cherished by all. In those words on that night, people knew the words and were warmed because God was speaking to them about a peace of God which passes all understanding. Here's the reality. God speaks to us all the time, inviting us to live at peace with one another. It's up to us to find out and figure out if we are willing to listen to God or not. for Orson Wallace. We pray for Nancy Winkler, who is at Baptist Lloyd. We're grateful Harvey Fisher is back with us and doing well. That's excellent. Susan Adams is home from the hospital and doing well. And we continue to pray for Darlene Devine, Joe Earl's sister-in-law. And we pray for Woodward. We also pray for the family and friends of President George H.W. Bush and the entire nation as we mourn his passing. Are there other people who would like to remember? Yes?
My brother-in-law having heart surgery this week.
Your brother-in-law is having heart surgery this week. Thank you, Derek. Yes? Eileen Molina? Okay, her funeral will be at Central Christian Church this week. Yes?
Francis Pierce at Westminster passed away last night.
Francis Pierce at Westminster? Okay, she was one of the residents who was in charge of the place, okay. I probably met her. Yes, somebody else? Yes, I'm sorry.
The family and colleagues of Wayne Stokenall and his colleagues who were killed in the plane crash.
Yes, the family and colleagues of Wayne Stokenall. Yes, thank you. Stokenall. Thank you. Yeah. Joyce. I have several. Miller has one she'd like to share.
I'll stand up for this one. I had the privilege this week of attending an event put on by the Horseshoe Foundation of Floyd County, and St. Mark's was given a grant of $10,500. Various organizations within our community. And I just sat there as the names of these groups were read off and the work that they're doing, and I was just so proud of our county and what is going on here for people in need. It really just made my Christmas already to hear all of this, and it was also a blessing to be a part of that. And I think we have a good reputation with Horseshoe, and this is going to go for our clothes closet, but also for the health fair this year to buy some prescription glasses and some of the materials that are needed at that time. So we're in good shape.
Thank you, Pat, and the group that wrote the grant. Great job. I would like to thank all the people who did declaration. And Emily Essex was able to get us through a friend of the Cool Story Night that we had. And tonight is the Advent musical, which is listening to the kids sing yesterday was so cool. And I think we always have to remember what a blessing and a treasure Sandy Carter is and how well she works with us. So I'm grateful to her. Yes. You're celebrating your 85th birthday. Happy birthday. Sandy Carter's birthday is actually this week. Tomorrow! She turns 39 again. So, you know what? Tonight, remind me we have to sing happy birthday to Sandy tonight. Okay. All right. Yes.
I think what my dear wife was unable to get out is, as a special education teacher, she is acutely aware In the midst of tonight hearing beautiful voices be raised by some of our children, she has a student whose life is literally falling apart. And so, if we could pray for those little ones among us who are entering into this season of hope and joy and love without a glimmer of hope and absolutely no peace.
Let us pray. In the season of expectation, we prepare to welcome Christ Jesus, the Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Into the bustle of our lives, hard to find moments of solitude, we prepare to welcome Jesus, the Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Into our homes and situations, along with friends and families, we prepare to welcome Jesus, the Messiah, the Prince of Peace. Into our hearts and those hidden parts of our lives, we prepare to welcome the Messiah, Jesus, the Prince of Peace. Into the lives of people who we sometimes know and sometimes we don't know, for whom the season is painful, for whom hope and peace is impossible. We continue to find and pray for the Messiah, Jesus, the Prince of Peace. For beneath the surface of our lives, there is one thing we embrace of God, that you entered the world as vulnerable as any one of us, and taught us and modeled for us the peace of God that passes all understanding. And you invite us to be peacemakers and bring your light to all people. Amen. Let us pray in silence. We pray together. Our Father, it is Advent. It is not yet Christmas. It is a time of waiting. As we wait upon the Lord, we share joys and the sorrows and the wants and the difficulties of life. But let us share our gifts of the gospel of our life. Let us pray. Most holy God, we seek for peace. We seek for light. You are with us. Let us always recognize your presence in our midst. And we ask you to accept that which we offer before you as a sign of our love and commitment to you and to one another as we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Please be seated.
As we prepare to pray our prayer of the great Thanksgiving, let us take a moment of silence, of calm, in order to center our hearts, let go of things in our lives that we perhaps regret, asking God for the peace of forgiveness. Know this, already your world is a little bit calmer and brighter, having offered to God the bits of chaos clouding your life. Now the dark skies give way to beams of light illuminating your way. Move forward into God's future, forgiven and free. Let the people of God say, Amen.
As we gather to celebrate Holy Communion today, you're probably wondering, am I welcome at the table, especially if you're visiting here? There's an answer to that question, and the answer is yes. And you might say, but, and the answer is still yes. And you might say, but nobody else wants me. You're welcome at our table. This is God's table, and no one is left behind. Come, for the way has been lit before you. Come and take in and take on the peace of Christ, which is being reborn in you today. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Lift up your hearts.
We lift up the Lord.
Let us give thanks to the Lord our God.
It is right to give thanks and praise.
Holy God, in the beginning you called out, let there be light. Just as your light of creation spread in response, so too does your light rise each day, offering us a new chance to make today a little brighter than yesterday. When we feel overcome or succumb to the dark night of our souls, you offer us a way back into the light of hope. And so we praise you, singing, to us,
all in sorrow and fear, Emmanuel comes to sing. His humble song is quiet and near, yet fills the earth with its ringing. Music to heal the broken soul, and hymns of loving kindness. The thunder of his anthems roll, to shatter all hatred and blindness.
A star appeared on a silent and holy night, and brought with it your peace, joy, love, and hope in the form of a baby. This holy infant, tender and mild, was a sign of new life, a sign of holy vulnerability, a sign of your presence in flesh nor human form. This would be the light that showed forth the truth that all humanity is beloved, and called us to care for one another as beloved. Jesus gathered the people around tables and showed them their radiance. He took bread and broke it and said to his friends, "Take and eat, for this is my body."
He then took the cup, thanked you, and said, "Take, drink. This is my blood shed for you." Jesus gathers us around the table and says, "This bread and this cup are my life and light for you, and because I shine in you, let your light shine into all of the world." And so we offer ourselves in union with Christ's offering of salvation.
Christ has died.
Christ is risen. Christ will come again.
Pour out your Spirit on us and on these gifts. Transform us into the light of your love for all, and make us one in you. Thanks and praise be to you, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer, and Redeemer, as we sing together.
In darkest night, this coming shall be, when all the world is despairing. As morning light, so quiet and free, so warm and gentle and caring. Then shall the youth break forth in song, the lame shall weep in wonder, the weak be raised above the strong, and weapons be broken asunder.
These are the gifts of God for the people of God. Come, for all is now ready. Take and eat, for this is the body of Christ which is broken for us. rise and sing together.
Friends, we have a special Advent commissioning. Let us turn and face one another as we commission each other to go out into the world. Follow the light of the shining star.
Seek the child. Listen to the words of the heavenly host. Find the child. Offer as gifts the best that you have. Serve the child. Peace be among us. God be with us. Amen.
Our closing song this morning is Let There Be Peace on Earth.
And may the Spirit guide your way, offer peace to all you greet. Like Christ, see God in all you meet.